Hello and welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes. Welcome in, everyone. The guys are here. Hello, Cameron Riley. How are you?
Hello, Sybil Wilkes. I am doing well today.
Are ya? You back at work?
Back at work. Yep, after a long weekend. Yeah, it feels good.
Good for you. Very good. And let's see, am I missing anyone here? Am I? No, no. Okay.
No, I think we
Uh,
just roll.
yeah. Okay. Hello, Ahmed Gordon. How are you?
I'm doing well, Sybil Wilkes. I've left the waiting room of hell, which we like to call Dallas this weekend, and
Well,
not
no. Were
Dallas,
you in?
Texas.
No.
I was in Houston. I was in
Right.
Houston this weekend, and I got to finally feel what the heck you guys been feeling. And I actually came in on a cool weekend, high of 99.
Nope. No, thank you. No.
That was something else.
It is
It hurt.
something else. It's called
I don't even know how y'all
summertime.
doing it. 115 degrees, 110 degrees, all that mess. I don't even 99.
99. Yep.
We
Yep.
got up to
And
98 around here and did not feel like that.
Well, it's a
Mm-mm.
different kind of heat in Houston as opposed to Dallas too. The humidity is greater in southern Texas,
Mm.
and actually the 99 is, we're just glad we didn't get to triple digits that day.
yeah,
I
it's
just
91
don't.
over here, and it's not fun.
So is it
It's
is it
just
that warm in Chicago, Cameron?
Yeah, high of 91, and it's kind of just like the humidity that takes your breath away.
Yeah.
Not
Or,
enjoyable.
or it's difficult to breathe. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm at a
Absolutely. Yeah.
nice 86.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice?
86 with a light
A
breeze. Come
little
on now.
breeze.
A
Ooh, just a
little
little
Oh,
breeze
breeze.
yeah.
that come through.
Yeah,
We got back to
yeah,
Atlanta.
yeah.
I'm like, whoo, this
But you
no.
know what?
I don't want no part of that.
In a matter of months, it's gonna be a little chilly, and we're gonna be saying, "Ooh, what I wouldn't give for a
Ooh.
warm day."
No, I like
Um,
86. I don't need anything less than 70. I don't need anything less than 70. I can tell you that right now. I'm good.
Hmm.
but you guys get some chilly weather in Atlanta too.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
very similar to Dallas actually when it comes to like temperature wise. I think we're kind of around the same area on the
Hmm.
map. You
On the
know,
same latitude, almost.
yeah, latitude if you will,
mhm.
and so yeah, we can get chilly weather. But like when it gets cold where you guys are and it freezes, y'all have the craziest. I mean the craziest traffic.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
bad here, but like in Dallas, it's
Mhm.
like no, we're just gonna pile up every truck that we can find.
It's
When it
off the
gets too
chain.
crazy,
Yeah,
that it is
yeah.
ridiculous what happens in Dallas when it gets cold.
But you know what? I gotta tell you, I think that what happens to you guys in Atlanta is pretty crazy too. I've done stories
Yeah.
about, you guys get a little bit of precipitation on the ground
And
and
then it's
and
like batten down the hatches.
right.
Yeah.
Well, see, let me tell you. Okay, here's the difference. Here's the difference between Atlanta and Dallas. Dallas is flat, right? So everyone just
Right.
kind of going. Atlanta got hills. You can't get out your driveway. You can't get up your driveway. There's so many people that have driveways that go up and like steep that if they are during one of the ice storms we had a few years ago when I was driving Uber,
Hmm.
oh, it was. I went down the hill and I told my passengers and I was just like, hey, let's see what happens.
Woo!
I
And
had no
and we had
control
that
at
this
a certain
winter
point.
too. We had that too, and especially when they tell you about going up inclines for an expressway entry or whatever. It's I mean, and you
Yeah,
just see the glass ice
yeah.
Oh,
looking like
yeah.
You see it
on
coming.
the ground. Yeah, yeah. We had 3 fun days in Dallas trying to get to New York in February, I believe it was, and
I
it
remember
was
that.
uh, it was hell. It was absolutely hell.
Yeah.
Hmm.
At one point, uh, we were on the plane trying to do this show, and
Oh,
Med and Damon took over because everybody was looking at us. We were trying to do and have a little light conversation talking about being on this plane and that plane and this plane.
mhm.
But that's just a part of the weather situation. And Tom
Yeah.
used to tell us that it was worse traveling in the summertime than it was in the wintertime.
Oh, really?
And because the way the heat affects the planes, the ground
Oh,
gets
Yeah.
so
got
hot
you.
and
Yeah.
it's crazy. So, and
Real
let's not
quick,
even talk. Yeah.
Shirley Ann, Tony Davis. I saw that
Uh-huh.
comment. They don't know how to drive in the sleet or snow. That's not the problem. The problem is there is no salt on the ground.
Right.
Nobody knows how to drive on pure ice. Nobody does. It's
Right.
like there's
I
things you
mean,
shouldn't
southern
do.
states only pack so much ice, or they only pack so much salt.
Yeah, they don't like I remember one time there was like a truck out there. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you trying to do? You can't. What you gonna do? But yeah, you can't drive if there's no salt in the ground. All bets
And
are off.
that's it, because a lot of these places, oh, we can't, we don't have the budget, we don't know, there's no need, the salt ruins the roads and everything, so they get sand, and sand
That
will
doesn't
help you
help.
get grip, like if you're stuck somewhere. But as far as once they, clear off the roads and the salt and the sand, it doesn't really help you, as far as I can tell from
No,
driving.
not at all.
No, we are here to talk about all things that are going on in the world, and we're talking winter weather here on some of the
Absolutely.
hottest
Get your
days.
minds right.
Right, right.
Because it's coming.
It is
It's coming.
coming. Khameron is experiencing 91-degree heat in Chicago. Med is back in a more temperate Atlanta
Yes.
after days
86.
in Houston, and I'm here in Dallas, so where it's not quite 100, but darn near close, as it has been. And it's like, oh, if we could just get to September, well, we're here, and still it's hotter than Haiti. So what are you gonna do? Just go into
No,
where the little hopefully get some air conditioning and try to stay cool and wear as few clothes when
absolutely.
you're alone in the house as possible. Just that simple. So let's talk about the What You Need to Know newsletter. This is our Monday through Friday newsletter in which we seek to super serve the African American community with our stories and how the events of the day, the events of the year, and the headlines affect Black people. And Khameron is our political contributor. His sister Quinn is our LGBTQ contributor. Coy Malone is our social justice contributor, and Aprilette Russell is our mental health and wellness. So, and you can see them each have a day here on the What You Need to Know show and talk about the newsletter on It's Sybil. So, Khameron, let's talk about a belated look at Labor Day, and especially how Black folks are paid and not paid commensurate to people who are of the PWI community.
Yeah, Sybil, Med, I really wanted to just take a hard look at Black labor and how our labor has always been essential to keeping this country going.
Mm-hmm.
And this Labor Day, because I'm not sure if history will appropriately just give all of the Black essential workers their due when we look back on the pandemic 20, 30 years later, that over 20% of all of the workers that were deemed essential were Black. The transportation workers, the sanitation workers,
Yeah.
the medical practitioners in the hospitals, the security staff who were often enforcing the vaccine and the mask mandates. Those were all Black people.
Yep.
And so I really wanted to just give all of the essential workers out there, the millions of them across the country, their recognition, give them their flowers, because they kept the country going during the pandemic. In April, we had seen that Black unemployment was at a record low since they
Mm-hmm.
even began measuring what Black unemployment was in comparison to that of our white counterparts. And now we're seeing that Black unemployment is still sitting at a low-ish kind of
Low-ish. Yeah, a
yeah.
low-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's around like 5.3% or so, which is really good because that's back toward like pre-pandemic levels. So
Mm-hmm.
For those on Capitol Hill who have just kind of been like inching toward like the recession, ideology, that's not necessarily true. The economy is in a pretty stable place. And the reason why we can look toward Black labor as a measure of whether or not the recession is coming is because a lot of us work in these industries that can get hired really easily, or unfortunately can get laid off really easily too. So the fact that we're keeping our jobs means that the economy is in a stable place, that people have money to people have money to spend, that people are getting paid, and that made me feel really good. What also made me feel really good is that unemployment among like Black 20-somethings is also a lot lower than what it used to be. So people in my age demographic are also getting work. And of course, you know, we have Joe Biden, you know, taking all of the credit for it, you know, claiming Bidenomics or whatever. But he did say that he wanted to thank people for getting up and going to work, which is great. I mean, historically, there have been like movements across the country in Detroit, where Black people knew that the value of their labor was so integral to how their cities, to how their states, how the country is ran, that we had to fight for fair wages, fair living conditions. I remember my uncles used to work at the meatpacking stockyards on the west side. And my grandmother, when they came off of work, my grandmother had to hose them down outside because they smelled so bad. But those are the kind of jobs that we used to have to keep our families afloat. And I really want to see us in the future just like get better paying jobs, get equal paying jobs. And so the fight continues for that kind of representation of our labor, because our labor historically has always kept the country going.
But are they being paid fairly, Khameron? Because one of the statistics in your story was that on average, Black people are making somewhere about $200 less than.
Yeah. It was. So Pew released this study about, let's talk about Black labor. And Black people are still making less overall than white people doing the same work. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering if that falls in the realm of like union negotiations, or are we not organizing enough for fair wages? I just want to tell all the Black people out there, when you're working on the job, it's okay to ask your coworker, hey, how much are you getting paid?
And try to get people to have that kind of open conversation is still difficult today.
Yeah, because that's how you can rally together and stand up for fair wages.
Right.
They called them pickers back then, but during the Great Depression in like the palm trees and the orange trees of Florida, there were tree pickers who were picking oranges and picking fruit, and they were getting paid cents. And when they realized that they were getting scammed, they were like, yeah, we're just not going to pick fruit today. And that's how they got the owners of those plantations to fold. So Don't be afraid. Ask your friends, hey, how much are you getting paid?
And because, and those salaries, Khameron and Med, that, were so exorbitant trying to get people to come back to work or to seek a new job after the pandemic, those sky high salaries have now gone by the wayside. And so people thinking, I'll try to do a quiet quitting and move to another position, and finding that the money is not there any longer. And so you really have to step up and put yourself out there and defend your position as you're trying to make as much money as someone who is doing the same job, if not less. It might be the person that you taught to do the job.
Yeah, I mean, I had to learn, unfortunately, on my own, how to like bargain for my salary, how to come to the table with an offer, how to respond to a counter offer. But that's how you get paid what it is that you're worth, because Black labor has always been essential to keeping things going.
Right. Yeah. It's very interesting how this all works. And Khameron, I don't know if you saw this story, but there are a group of Black men who have filed a lawsuit stating racial grievances by a white company in the state of Texas, one of the largest companies, and they are charging with a hostile workplace, calling them the N-word, seeing nooses, and the things that we have reported on before. This is now a big deal, and especially in the state of Texas, where these have gone to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and filed a lawsuit against the Texas construction company, alleging that it subjected 4 Black employees to a hostile work environment. And it states that the field manager and colleagues used racial slurs and displayed hate symbols like the nooses and lightning bolt stickers with no disciplinary action. They would call them, easily, you N words don't work. You don't work the way you should. You're not as industrious as, and they would call daddy N word one of the men.
Yeah, no.
Whatever, it doesn't make any sense, obviously, but this is the way they chose to address and to deal with these people. So now they are taking them to federal court, and hopefully we'll get some sort of recompense for this. So this might be a story that we need to keep an eye on, Cam.
Yeah, I'm glad to see people organizing, because you don't have to put up with that at work
Right.
or anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just glad to see people rallying for just like a fair workplace.
Right.
And one of the things that I did yesterday in the news, one of the news spots that we do, is give a shout out to one of the foremost leaders of Black folks in the labor movement, A. Philip Randolph.
Oh yeah.
Was he created the union for Black men working on the railroad, the Pullman car attendants, and he was also one who initiated the 1963 March on Washington, to whom a lot of credit is given to Dr. King and Bayard Rustin and folks like that, and rightly so. But it was A. Philip Randolph who initiated this and was a real leader in the labor movement. And were not for him, a lot of men, including members of my own family, who are working for Santa Fe Railroad and other railroad companies, not getting fair pay and being treated unjustly. So, we do stand on the shoulders of giants. I know that, coming from a union family, this means a lot to me, but I wonder how many people really take Labor Day and really appreciate those who have labored long and hard on our behalf, to get to put us where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, my grandma is like very much like the fiscal agent of our family. If it wasn't for her, just like working, none of us would be able to be here and live the life that we have, to be able to give back and to be able to just share this information and knowledge with others. Likewise, I had found a letter from my great-great-grandfather writing to Frederick Douglass about how he had organized people in his community to get the 10 cents necessary to afford his news publication, so that he could circulate it across Mississippi, just to give people that knowledge. So, I like to just reflect on the ancestors on Labor Day, and just remind myself that when I go to work, I ain't got to put up with nothing that I don't have to.
Right.
Put up with. You got to put up with the clock here, Cameron. We are running out of time. So I do want to have people take a look at Cameron's work as a political contributor for the newsletter. Also to the celebrity CPA to the stars, Katrina Kraft talks about, if you're going out and looking for a home, she gives you some tips on things how to act, not to act disrespectfully or anything like that, but how to act in your own behalf when you're looking at homes, and what to look at, and how to proceed from there. So please take a look at that, as well as the fact that I got a chance to do a story yesterday on the fact that the government is coming after the Republican majority legislators who are trying to disenfranchise Black voters. And in this case, it was a case in Florida in which Ron DeSantis crafted a map of Congress, congressional map, in which they took a Black man out of his job. They cut him out and sprinkle Black people in these majority white districts. And please take a look at that, and follow up, if you'll take a look at the newsletter the next day, for what is going on in Alabama, and how Alabama people are thanking the judiciary for trying to get them representation of a state of which Black people are almost 1/3 the population. They have one congressional district. And so there is the fight to change that. So that's the What You Need to Know newsletter. Is absolutely free. Please subscribe. We'd love to have you. If you go to SybilWilkes.com, give us your name and your email address, and we'll have it in your email box every Monday through Friday morning. Let's move to. I struggled with this question, and it might have made me sick. That's why I'm having a problem, a sneezing attack or something. But this is. I want to know about your travel nightmares, and I will tell you. Airline or travel, it doesn't matter. It could be on a plane, train, or automobile. But do you have any horror stories? Two women reportedly were escorted off a flight between Las Vegas and Montreal. That's a nice long flight, right? Air Canada, following a dispute over poorly cleaned seating. The women were asked to leave by the pilot, who accused them of disruptive behavior and threatened them with a ban from the airline. Ban me if you're going to make, and the problem stemmed from someone vomited on their seats, and they tried to do a quick cleanup on aisle 3, and they didn't do a good job. The stench was horrible. There was still on the seats, and they tried to get to move to another seat. There were no open seats, and they said, something's got to be done. And the flight attendants went to the pilot. The pilot said, nothing, we can't do anything for you, and if you keep complaining, we're going to have someone come and escort you off the plane.
Yeah,
and they did.
Right.
They did. They did not try to help these women. They had security come and escort them off the plane. And luckily, another person nearby said that they were not trying to be rude. They were simply upset about their inability to reaccommodate them. That's all they were asking for. Instead, the pilot said, no, and you're out of here, security, and had them escorted off the plane. Well, Air Canada has finally apologized after they were kicked off and to sit in the seats with vomit on them, initially highlighted by this woman on Facebook and Twitter. They saw them escorted from a flight between Las Vegas and Montreal. This happened just a couple of days ago after complaining about the poorly cleaned area to cabin crew. And so hopefully they will make good on this. I got another one for you if you'd like to hear it, but I would like to hear from people. Do you have any travel nightmares? I have not been on a plane where someone has kind of lost their mind and behaved, like we have seen videos of it. Just saw one the other day where this big guy was taken on this, and he wasn't even a flight attendant. He was someone who worked, I guess, in the airport for that particular airline, and they were going back and forth, and the big guy, the passenger, was going to take out this airline employee for the way that he treated a child, a baby, and you can hear the baby crying in the background.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah,
and not really understanding what happened. I've never been on anything like that, or where they have mistreated Black people, or they mistreated people, other minorities, or getting into it between Black and white people. I've not been, knock on wood, I've not been on any of those flights, but certainly there are enough of them to believe there are horror stories.
Absolutely. I'm thinking your next story is about Delta.
Yeah.
That'd be about, Delta. Okay.
Yeah.
I was bring that in. We gotta land the plane. We have to land the plane.
Yeah,
we can't do that. We gotta land the plane.
Diarrhea.
You gotta land the plane. Gotta land the plane. Gotta come down. We gotta land the plane. I think for me, like you said, Sybil, I haven't had any crazy things happen to me while I've been on a plane. With me, it's always driving. Nails find my tire whenever I'm driving. So I always seem to be on the side of the road on long road trips, changing tires. And
late at night too, or does it time of day matter?
I've done late at night. I've done in the morning. I've done in the middle of the day. I've done all the 24-hour clock. I've hit pretty much every time period you can. When it comes to drive, I've done it in the rain. I've done it in the heat. It's that back right tire for some reason always wants to collect the nail.
Come all ye nails.
Oh my
All the
goodness.
nails. It's like a magnet in that bad boy, and it just sucks them up, and it just drives me nuts. One of these days, I'm gonna get an actual, buy some real tires instead of the used ones. But that has nothing to do with it. Okay, it might have something to do with it a little bit, but still, I'm just saying it's very annoying. It's the changing of the tires for me on road trips.
Wow, that's not only it's frustrating, but it's dangerous.
Very much so. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If I'm on the expressway, I make sure, even if thankfully these cars now tell you, like, hey, air pressure's dropping, and when you see it come up and you see it just drop, like, oh, this is flat. So you're able to go on the side of the road that's the safest, especially if it's the side of the road that the tire is on, so you can protect yourself from being your back is towards the oncoming traffic.
Right. Yeah. What about you, Cam? Have you had any travel drama?
Well, if Med is always finding nails, I often end up in like strange animal crossings when I'm like driving. There was one time I was taking my family down to Disney World, and there was just like a huge gator in the middle of the highway.
Oh yeah.
And it was just like sunbathing there, and it's like, okay. And like alligators and their scales are actually like really sharp. They can easily puncture a tire, and people are just just like zooming. But I was like, no, I'm just gonna stop. And I like observed the gator. I was like, would you like to move? The gator looked at me, like closed his mouth, and then just like sauntered off. And then when I went to school in Iowa, I would often go just like from my school to Iowa City, and I would always just like find like random deer in the middle of the road, just like and it's so scary because it's like pitch black, you can't see anything
until it's too late.
Right.
Yeah, until it's just like there in your face, and I've had to just like slam the brakes. And the deer's like, oh, okay, I should go now. And I'm like
a deer caught in the headlights, literally.
Truly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like hitting a deer is like hitting a car. It's not forgiving, okay?
Right.
At all.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very scary. And then I was going to the Grand Canyon at like 7 a.m. because I wanted to get there early because it was going to be like a high of 116 degrees in the afternoon. And I saw a moose. Like a massive moose.
I don't mess with moose.
Way bigger than my car. I mean, this thing was just like munching on some leaves in the middle of the road, and I slowed down and I observed the moose, and I said, Moose, would you like to move?
Mr. Moose.
Right. I'm like, hello. Moose is like, you can go around, son. And I'm like, okay. I'm just gonna go.
I don't think people understand how big meese are.
Right.
Huge.
They are huge.
Yeah.
They are huge, and they are fast. And I've seen videos where they're walking on water. Them things,
they can swim. Yeah.
Them things. Whenever I see videos of a moose running back, I'm like, no, it was chasing a bear. I saw a video of a moose chasing a bear. Bear was running for its life. I'm like, I don't want to mess with the thing and chasing the bear.
And the moose seem like they just kind of plod along, but
they don't plod. Yeah. They move.
Yeah.
It was terrifying.
No.
I think as a driver in our travel duo between Yolanda and me, she doesn't drive. She's got great cars, but she don't drive. And so when we're on vacation, I'm the one that drives, unless you get a car with a stick shift, because I can't drive a stick. But we've been through Alaska, and I was driving and wanted to see a moose. That's all I wanted to see. And she's like, and I think she was praying the whole time, please God, don't let us come across a moose. Please, Lord, don't let us come across a moose. And that's all I wanted to see. Driving on the late night. I mean, we went to a place that we should not have been, a hotel that was not to my standards, and so sorry,
small town hotel in Alaska.
Yeah, it wasn't what
not that many there. It'll be up to your standards in Alaska. I'm gonna let you know that right now.
Right.
You don't have that many options.
and no heavenly beds. You know what I'm saying? So, but I remember driving along this very, very dark, isolated road, and every few feet was beware of deer.
Mm.
Beware, and you name the animal, and it was like those signs that were all along the way. That was probably one of the most hazardous trips that because here I wanted to see a moose, but I didn't want to see one coming my way and crossing my path.
Yeah.
Nor bear, nor deer.
Mm-mm.
Shades of Bambi and all that kind of stuff. You don't want any of that. So, but that's as close as I've come, and getting stuck in a field outside of a church in Greece. That's as close as
Oh,
I've come to a difficult moment in traveling. I don't know how we ended up in this middle of this field. Yolanda wanted, it was a Sunday. Yolanda wanted to find a church, and so we
okay.
found our way into a church. But we found our way into a church field, I guess, where they did their planning and stuff, and we could not get out. And there
Like
was
back road type stuff.
I think it was Cameron, or at least that seems to be in my memory. How he just and all of a sudden we just ended up, and I thought, okay, we'll just go, and we're stuck, and the wheels are
Yeah.
spinning, and there was
Ah,
one little old man who just was cutting and minding his own business. Could see us. I knew he could see us out of the side view, his peripheral vision. You should have been able to see us, and he wouldn't. And so
Oh.
I did what I had to do. I got my wallet and I went up and I pointed to him because I have no Greek in me. You can only say ouzo so many times before they, think that you want to drink. And so I got my wallet, and uh, he went inside and came out with one man, and then so there were two of them, then there were four, and then there were about 8 to 10 men, and they moved us out of the way. They lifted the Jeep out of the field and put it on the road and sent
Oh.
us on our way. That's as
Oh.
close as we've
extraordinary.
come to, having a real disastrous situation, but none, where the Lord watches out for fools and babies. So we have not had those situations where, a
Right.
flat tire or anything like that.
Mm.
Just
Yeah. Yeah.
we've
The
had
flat tire.
communication issues. Trying to get out of Naples one time, and Yolanda stopped first person we see. We're gonna stop, and uh, she said, "Sir," and she pointed to the map where we were trying to get to, down the coast of Italy. And the man said, "No, no, 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 no." No, 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 no,
Okay.
no, no. And he's motioning, and all I hear is no, 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 no. And so I'm on the floor by this time. And she looks at me, she said, "What is wrong with you?" And I said, "Only you would stop the first person they see, and he's a mute.
Oh.
He could not speak, but he could direct
He was
her.
trying. He was trying.
He
Yeah.
tried,
He was
and
trying his best.
she tried, and they made some kind of communication. They closed the gap there, and he got through his directions, and got us out of Naples and onto the road, down the coast of Italy. Just it was
You and
miraculous.
Yolanda, huh? Just out here, just on random roads,
Man,
adventuring it
what?
Yeah.
all the way.
Let's
Jeez.
just take a look around Naples, and we like,
Right.
okay, maybe we should.
And
Sun's going down.
I'm
Let's get
guessing this
out of
is
here.
before we had all the
Right?
GPS and stuff
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
This is when you
Yeah.
just say,
Yeah.
give me a map and we'll figure it out.
That's exactly right. That's
Jesus.
exactly
Oh
right.
my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, that'd be me.
that's a little bit of our travel stories, but we got plenty of those. But let me tell you, as Med referenced earlier, there was a case on a Delta airline, and this is where a passenger experienced, they said it, explosive diarrhea.
It
This
happens.
was a plane going from Atlanta to Barcelona, Spain. So it
Oh.
wasn't
Oof.
just a little, it wasn't a little, jump over from here to there. It was going
Yeah.
across the waters to Barcelona, and they had to turn around and land back in America. in order to deal with it. They said it was so awful. And I guess, somebody, the pilot, is like, okay, we can't go 8 hours and have people subjected to this. Good thing they weren't on an Air Canada flight, but
Yeah, because they would have just thugged it out.
Just sitting there. You'll be all right. We almost there. Hold your nose.
that would be a father.
Breathe to your mouths. We'll be all right. We'll just drop you off in the middle of the ocean.
Almost there.
We're almost there. I ain't turning this bad boy around at all.
Right.
There's no place to land. Deal with it. From the description, I heard that the person tried to get to the bathroom, so there was like a trail.
Yeah,
all the way down the aisle.
Yeah, so it wasn't just like in the seat.
So everybody got it.
He left his calling card all the way up the aisle. Yeah.
That's terrible. Oh man. So a friend of mine was on a cruise recently. A friend of mine was on a cruise recently, and they have like a few different pools on these cruise ships, and they were taking a dip in the pool, and someone had defecated in the pool, and it was not a floater, and so they're like, yeah, we got to close. Yeah, it was just spreading out, and they're like, yeah, we got to close the pool. And so they were looking around. They're like, oh, where's our baby cousin? And baby cousin had vanished, and thus implicating himself for being the scoundrel that did the and this baby cousin was like, pigging out on like ice cream and burgers and pizza. Yeah, so
all the stuff you couldn't have at home.
Right, and it just expelled itself.
Tore him up, and baby cousin didn't want to get out the pool because he's having too much fun. So he's trying to decide, get out the pool. He said, I could probably hold it. And the body said, no, you can't.
No, you can't.
It doesn't work than the no, you can't.
And there we go. Yeah. So
those
are some of our travel challenges. And let's now move to trending. This is the part where we would ask Damon where he's appearing, but sorry. Thank you, Teresa Robinson.
They've been loving your look tonight. They've been loving the look tonight. Sybil, what you wearing?
Well, I had to do some production work earlier, so this is a part of the look. So thank you very much, Teresa, saying that she likes my headband there.
I finished shooting my short film last weekend.
Oh, good. So what's the next step?
Yeah, so just to update everyone, the film is called Coronary Artery. It explores one man's journey to a job interview on the Red Line, but all of the recent dead on the Red Line train have tracked him there to repeat his commute over and over until he fixes the issues that are on the Red Line train. So it's like a horror film type of suspense thriller, and we shot it over 2 days on and off of CTA.
And you got permission from the transit company to do this, right?
No, we didn't.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. No, we didn't, and that was a bit of a problem.
Guerrilla recording. I love it.
That's going to be a great chapter in the story.
Yeah, they called the cops on us. And these were like, just like, chill black, like downtown cops, like, and they were like, hey. I'm like, hey, like I identified myself, right? I was like, hey, my name is Khameron. I work for UIC. And they're like, okay, black man, check, job, check.
No.
They were really chill about it.
Don't tell me
where you were.
You're breaking the law, sir. Don't do that. What are we doing? Just get away.
CPD was super chill. They were like, you know what? There's actual crime going on. Just don't be a nuisance. It was 4 a.m. We couldn't be any more out of the way at all. And CPD understood that. But what CTA resorted to doing was they started just like playing random stuff on the intercom to mess up our audio footage. They were being really petty. But we got what it is that we came for, though. So we finished about 80% of it. I'm going to drop some behind the scenes footage on my Instagram.
Oh, good.
And yeah. And then I'll release a little bit of a trailer later on this week.
Awesome. And so we'll find your Instagram at Khameron_Riley and
Yeah.
get a peek at sneak peek at what you've been doing. Good for you. I love,
Yeah.
and that's going to be a great part of the story too. Yeah, not getting the
Yeah.
CTA permission, cops stopping you, and all of that, and
I tried.
maybe they get a shout out in the the credits. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Shout
Thanks for
out to
not
CPD,
arresting
man.
us.
Yeah,
right,
because
Thanks for
there's like
not.
actual crime going
right.
on. So thank you.
Absolutely.
So funny. Um, do you realize that COVID's not gone and it's not going anywhere soon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna cash in on another COVID excuse pretty soon.
Yeah, yeah. First Lady Jill Biden
Oh,
has
she
tested
got it.
positive for COVID. Yeah.
Jill.
She tested positive and is experiencing mild symptoms, according to the White House. The
Okay.
president has tested a couple of times and tested negative.
Okay.
According to the First Lady staff, her diagnosis upended her plans to begin teaching this fall at the
Oh
North
no.
Virginia Community College the day after Labor Day. But she is secluded at their summer home in Delaware, and so she's good. The president is going to start wearing. If he didn't today, I didn't see him. They had an award ceremony at the White House, but I didn't see him wearing a mask. But I got to tell you, I have a cousin who she had surgery on her eyes a few weeks ago, and so I hadn't really been in touch with her because we normally text, and I didn't want to disturb her as she was recuperating. Come to find out, she has had the worst case of COVID that she's ever had. She's had it a couple of times,
Whoa.
and she said it was awful. She
No.
said she's never been this sick before in her life. And
Hmm.
she gave me a blow by blow of all of the challenges, the sweats and the cold and
Yeah.
all of the stuff that she's gone through.
Is
So
she fully vaxxed too?
yes, and
Really?
that too.
Wow.
Yep. Yep.
Oh
And so
man.
that's what they are recommending to people. There are new COVID variants. The EG.5 is spreading quickly. And also there's the BA.2.86 is closely watched because it has so many mutations. And the virus also changes over time after the initial vaccine series. So they're telling people this fall, when the new vaccine comes out, please make sure that you get your booster.
Yeah.
And of course, your immunity naturally decreases over time. And she's trying to get ready to go out of the country, try to go to Canada. So I don't know, how this is going to affect it. But the new updated vaccines expected this fall, the CDC wants everyone aged 6 and older to get the updated Pfizer, BioNTech, or the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. And please, be careful out there. You don't
Oh.
want to wear a mask. Okay, I'm masking up, and even when I go to Walmart, I'm masking up. But a lot of people say, they don't. I don't need a mask. Oh, like okay, okay. But
Yeah.
and she
Apparently it's
doesn't
out
know
here.
how she got it. That's the other thing. She went to she went to one place. She went for her eye surgery and came home, and then there was a repairman that came to the house, and so she thinks, one of those two places. But she called and reported it to the
Oh,
medical
good.
facility, and no one had reported getting or having coming down with COVID. So, but just be careful. It's still there, and the schools. Some schools are closed because so
Really?
many children have been
Hmm.
have come home with cases of COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, like outside of COVID, just seeing all the kids. Like I said, we went through it the first 2 weeks of school. We all
Uh-huh.
got sick in the house, not COVID related, but we all caught something. And it was just it hit my son, then it hit my wife, then it hit me. So it's just one of those things, man, where it's gonna be. It's not going, like you said, it's not going anywhere. Numbers are
Right.
going to go up, especially during the fall season.
Right.
Um, it is what it is. So you just got to be mindful of it. I mean, like we've talked about before, what's happened is there's no fear of it anymore. Yeah,
Right.
the numbers are going to go up, but
Yeah.
also the fear was always dying. That was always a fear. The fear wasn't
Right.
getting sick; it
Right.
was dying.
Yeah.
And the fear of
Yeah.
dying is basically gone. So now when
That's
people
been
get COVID,
eliminated.
it's just like, all right, I got COVID. Either I don't tell nobody and continue on my life, or I get to shut down for a couple of weeks and call it one. So no one's scared of dying anymore. They're just scared. They're just concerned of the inconvenience of it. And so that's why people are kind of moving the way they are right now and not really worried about contracting it or passing it on to anybody else.
Yeah,
But we
I
also
gotta
have to be very mindful, like Khameron in your house, and
right.
others who have people, older folks with immune compromised systems, not wanting to pass that along to them. And so we have to be very mindful of those, even young people who have immune compromised systems, and older people. We've got to be careful about, exposing them to these
Absolutely.
situations.
When
Yeah,
I
I'll
had
straight
it,
go the test.
it was terrible. It was god awful when I had it, and it opened your eyes to what it could be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you lose the taste, when you lose the taste,
Yeah.
that's the weirdest thing in the world, to not be able to taste something that that
Right.
I'm just like, this is the weirdest thing. I can't smell and I can't taste. What kind of
Hmm.
disease is this?
Right.
And not even get to the part where it was hard for me to breathe when I walked up the stairs.
And then
But
there's that. Yeah.
and then I couldn't sleep. It was just a mess. It was a nightmare for 8 days.
Well, speaking of nightmares, let's talk about the nightmare that was the men and women who tried to take over this country on January 6, 2021, in the insurrection. And one of them has been sentenced today, given the longest sentence ever of
Yeah.
anyone involved in the insurrection. The former Proud Boys chairman, Enrique Tarrio, sentenced to 22 years in prison for
Get him.
That's tough.
seditious conspiracy and leading a failed plot to prevent the transfer of power from Donald Trump to Joe Biden.
Yep.
He
See you
wasn't
later.
even there. He
He
was the
wasn't
leader of the
there.
group. He was the leader, and that was enough for them. That he put all of this
He-
together and led from a remote post, and so he has been sentenced today. Came from District Judge Timothy Kelly, the longest, as I said, given to anyone in relation to the January 6th U.S. Capitol attack. They said he leaned on a podium to steady himself as this was coming down, and hung his head as the judge handed down the sentence. The other members of the Proud Boys leadership were also found guilty of seditious conspiracy, and they were sentenced last week. The jury, according to the judge, the jury didn't convict anyone for engaging in politics. They convicted Mr. Tarrio and others of engaging in seditious
Yeah.
conspiracy.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
have any indication that he is remorseful for the actual things he is convicted of, which is seditious conspiracy and conspiracy to obstruct the counting of electoral votes. Tarrio was the ultimate leader of that conspiracy, the judge said. I don't really think this is super debatable. I do think the evidence supports the inference that Mr. Tarrio was the ultimate leader, the ultimate person who organized, who was motivated by revolutionary zeal.
Hmm.
And why wasn't he? Why wasn't he in town for this? He was arrested in D.C. just days before the riot for burning at a church a Black Lives Matter flag, a banner, and bringing
Dude,
high capacity rifle magazines into the District of Columbia, which is
what?
illegal. And he was
Very much
ordered to
so.
leave the city by a judge.
Oof. I mean, I'm glad that he's. I'm glad that he's booked.
Right.
I just hope that he doesn't end up just like radicalizing a bunch of other inmates
Yeah,
in.
well, that's the possibility. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't see them putting him in solitary. Oh,
Oh,
hello. That's
Hey,
like showing up 5 minutes before class is over. How you doing, Damon?
um, great. So me and the missus,
Uh-huh. Hi, Juanita.
we started a project, and the time I didn't even realize it was so late. I'm putting together a basketball hoop. I just
Oh,
said,
nice.
what time? She said it's 6:40. I'm like, oh no. So what
Cool.
important things are y'all talking about that I've missed so far?
COVID is still here to stay, and the Proud Boys leader was sentenced today to 22 years in prison. Enrique Tarrio is he's been sentenced to 22 years, and so he's going away for that long. Well, I'm not sure if it's 22 years, or if it's federal time, if he has to do all of that, or what. But he's been sentenced today to 22 years in prison for his role as the leader of the Proud Boys and the insurrection at the Capitol.
And Cameron, you were making the point that he might radicalize other prisoners.
Yeah,
inside.
that's what. Yeah. I mean, he looked really sad that he got 22 years, but he'll find his community among the other Nazis in prison.
Yeah. And who would be gleeful at a time like that?
Right.
Yeah, but he really had to steady himself because they were like that because there was a note apparently from his attorney saying, don't react, whatever you do." But he you could tell that hit him. I guess he just didn't believe when they were talking about it all these days leading up to it. Maybe you turned the television off every time they talked about it, but they were talking about he was going to do some serious time.
Wow. I spent 18 hours in jail. No.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
No. It's like a weekend in jail sounds like a life sentence to me. You know what I'm saying? After I did 18 hours, I was just like, I'm in here because of a ticket, and I didn't pay the ticket. And I'm like, goodness, 18 hours in jail for this. I hear people get 3 days. I'm like, whoo, sorry for you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's tough.
What you don't want is to do that on a weekend, and then you got to wait for holiday court.
Right.
And the worst part is to hell with jail is spread them and cough. In a room full of butt naked men, when they say, "I spread them, bend over," they ain't bathed in 3 days, and now it's all open ass in a small room. That's enough to make you be scared straight.
Speaking of spread wide, a Delta flight had to land because of explosive diarrhea from one of the passengers, and he ran that diarrhea up and down the aisle. Thoughts, Mr. Damon Williams?
Wow. Damn.
Yeah.
Look, should have took Southwest.
Would they have turned around? Would they have turned around? Because this pilot said, we're not going all the way to Barcelona. We're turning this.
No, we're not going to make it.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
That's nasty.
Pretty nasty. Yeah. Let's move to entertainment if we can. I don't know if that was entertaining or if it was just a little too real for folks. But apparently Keke Palmer and her baby daddy are back together. You'll be really relieved that they were seen at the Beyonce show together and dancing like they liked each other.
That's good.
And they had drama because he didn't like the way she was dressed to go to another show. And he put it out there on Instagram. And so they I guess they broke up, but now, in order to get to see Beyonce, he had to cozy back up to Keke. And so they're good. Aren't you all relieved to hear that?
It's such great news.
The pity was stay out of people's business. Just stay out of people's business.
Yeah.
Well, he said that rumor about him moving on wasn't true. He's like, I don't know where y'all get that from. I said I was angry. I ain't say I was moving out this big ass house.
Right. I ain't dumb. He said, I ain't stupid.
But maybe he's learned his lesson, as Med said, don't put all your business out there.
Right.
You need to know that you were angry about that. That's inside stuff. That's
also
used.
I mean, also
shout out to Keke for making money off of that. I love it. Keke said, "I'm gonna take advantage of this. Let's go."
Okay. All right.
Well, what did she wear to the Beyonce concert? Because that's where you really get naked.
Okay.
Right.
And maybe he just wanted to see Beyonce. I don't
silver.
know. Yeah. Throughout. Yeah. So, check this out, you guys. We are going to be doing a special show on September 21st about peripheral artery disease, PAD. And a lot of people may not know about it, but it affects millions of Americans. And of course, Black folks are 2 times more likely to be affected by this. Peripheral artery disease has to do with the blood flow to your legs and your feet. And so if you have pain when you're walking, pain in your behind, your thighs, your legs, your feet, take a time and get to a doctor and find out if this is what is causing your pain. Peripheral artery disease, especially if you have diabetes or you're a smoker, hypertension, that kind of thing. Those people are also more greatly affected by this. So PAD, peripheral artery disease, we're going to have an expert talking about this on Sybil on September 21st. So please take a moment, mark it down in your calendars, and we would love for you to have an opportunity to learn more about it. I'm learning more about it as we speak about this. So also, we're going to close out with today's jewel. I know it seems like jewel. Didn't we just start the show, Damon?
Yeah.
But we do.
Where'd the time go?
Determination is a great defense against procrastination. Determination is a great defense against procrastination. And let us close with, we got an HBCU Classic coming up. Check this out, and we will see you all again soon. Thanks so much, guys, for participating. We appreciate it. And Damon, we're coming to play basketball at your place.
Come get the hoop on.
Aloha.
Get ready for an epic showdown on September 16th as Morehouse and Albany State take the field for the Toyota HBCU NY Classic at MetLife Stadium.
Football season is back, and this is the game you can't miss.
Join us for the world's largest HBCU homecoming to experience the thrill of HBCU culture like never before.
Enjoy the ultimate celebration with a pregame tailgate, battle of the bands, and an iconic halftime show.
Don't wait. Get your tickets now at hbcunyclassic.com.